Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experiences, my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
You can just take it.
Would you like a military discount?
Do you offer one?
Honestly, cap of the day.
Thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes, it's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 135 of the Trash Talk Hour. Today, we have returning guest Ben Owen, and he's going to be talking about We Fight Monsters. And as usual, I'm here with Nick and Buddy. Happy Saturday, everybody.
What up?
Right away, I'm triggered. Buddy, what is that behind you? Like, what is that? Like, are you decorating?
My bed?
No, the lights.
You talking about those?
Yeah. What is this, a college dorm room?
Yeah,
You're in
turn
college.
them on.
Yeah.
Turn them on. You can hang pictures from them. It's nice. It's nice little little ambiance, if you will. It's like a nightlight. I'm scared of the dark. Here's the thing. I'm scared of the dark, so I need a nightlight. Everybody knows that.
That's what it looks like. I just put those up in my daughter's room. It's fine.
You know, I had to have that conversation.
Yeah, our youngest has those in his room, too.
Yeah, I had to have that conversation with my ex-wife at one point because she wouldn't sleep in the room without a nightlight on when I was gone. And I was like, the only thing that nightlight is doing is allowing the rapist to find you. Like if you have a better chance, you have a better chance just being dark. Like, so if you
exposing
really
yourself,
safe,
no pun intended.
Everybody knows if you want to feel safe, you just got to put the cover over your head. Then the murderer and the rapist can't catch you. But if you got a nightlight, they don't even have to look. They're just like,
you're right there.
Right? Just boom, found you.
Thanks for
anyway. How's your weekends going, there, boys?
Good so far. Good.
I'm I get to take the boy to his first homecoming tonight.
Hell yeah!
Nice.
So I gotta jump off here right at 1 hour because I gotta get my chauffeur suit on so I can take this boy and the little girl and eat dinner. I was so happy with the one he chose too. Because I was like, hey, look, you could pick like where you guys want to go eat, whatever. Like, what do you want? And she was like, Mexican food. And I was like, fuck yes. That's what I'm talking about.
You can never go wrong with tacos, man.
Hey, girl, get all the free chips you want.
It
Get
better be a virgin margarita.
Yeah. Then what did he told me? He was like, like their dance doesn't start till 8. I was like, all right, what time we have to pick her up? And he was like 6, and I was like, that's 2 hours. Y'all go out for drinks? Like, what are we doing? Like, you're in the 9th grade. What do you need 2
Pictures,
hours
bro.
to go to a? Yeah, I guess maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know.
Pictures.
They're also doing these promposals for homecoming now, which I don't get. I don't understand it.
What is that?
They go. Like, it's almost like they do a proposal.
Yeah, it's like this
Like a wedding
dramatic
proposal
for social media.
They go fucking crazy
For likes. You got to get likes.
all kinds of crazy shit for it. Like he asked her, he went and got a soccer ball and then wrote, because she plays soccer, he wrote, "You want to kick it with me at homecoming?" And I was like, I mean, okay, I got to give you I give you the pun nod, but the fact that you're not just going, "Hey girl, you want to go to homecoming?"
Right.
Or what? Yeah, like he was like, "What kind of stuff did you used to do, Dad?" Or just asked him. I just said, "Hey, you want to go to homecoming?" And then
we got to overcomplicate everything.
Yes. Didn't really know, but whatever. How you like me now, girl?
Anyway, well, good. We're having a great Saturday. It's going to be a phenomenal show, and thanks everybody for tuning in. Brian, what up, Boats? What up, Linda? Kelly?
Yeah. Kelly, Renee saying good afternoon, y'all. And then somebody was commenting on from
What's
LinkedIn.
up, Kelly?
Yeah, somebody from LinkedIn, it was an attorney, was saying, never thought of that to Buddy. Yeah, here, Susan Stanford. Never thought of that. Keeping the light on.
Turn it off.
Just turn the light off and you're safe.
Yeah.
Science.
Well, anywho, what better way to kickstart this dumpster fire, the Trash Talk Hour, with another conspiracy theory? And before Chris plays this video
on my screen right now, I'm not allowed
you're gonna
to
see
look
it
at
in a
this.
second. No, it's fine. You'll see. This was the best video I could find. The other ones were 8 minutes. So we're gonna talk about reincarnation. So I don't know if you guys have ever looked into this. We dabbled a little bit in religion last week, so I figured, why don't we touch that? And I was scrolling through TikTok, YouTube, and there's just millions of cases. Obviously, they don't all have to be true, but there's millions of cases out there of young children claiming that they, were a different person in a different life. And this one right here is the James Leininger case. One of the bigger ones and well-known ones. And again, there's YouTube videos. There's a whole hour documentary on this. This kid right here actually explains it in like 2-3 minutes. So we're going to play the video and then we're going to discuss it. Go ahead, Chris.
Mind-blowing cases of reincarnation, part 35. About 2 weeks after his second birthday, James woke up screaming and crying around 3 o'clock in the morning, which his mom said was so bad it was like he was being killed. His parents ran into his room to check on him, and he was repeating, "Airplane crash, on fire, little man can't get out." His dad started asking him questions like, "What happened to your plane?" James said, "It got shot." He asked, "Who shot your plane?" James said, "The Japanese." He asked how he knew it was the Japanese. James said, "The big red sun." His dad asked where his plane came from. He said, "A boat." He asked if this boat had a name. James said, "Yes, Natoma." There was, in fact, an aircraft carrier called the USS Natoma Bay that supported the Battle of Iwo Jima in World War II. He found it a complete mystery how a 2-year-old knew that information. The next day, his mom talked to her mom and told her all that had happened with James and what he was saying. She replied with, "Maybe he's experiencing a past life," and his dad flat out said, "That's bullshit." He said, "That is not happening in this house. I don't believe that stuff, and if that's what you're thinking, I'm gonna prove you wrong." One day, James was talking about his airplane, and his dad asked what kind of plane he flew. James said it was a Corsair. His dad went on the internet, did some research, and found that there was no Corsair that flew off the Natoma Bay and used that against the whole past life theory. He said that James will eventually get over what he's going through. His mom was talking to him one night and asked what his name was when he used to fly planes. He said it was also James, but that he didn't remember his last name. His dad then found a list of men that were killed on aircraft carriers during World War II, where he found 18 men that were killed aboard the Natoma Bay. He was quite startled and even kind of scared when he found the name James M. Houston, who was killed during the Battle of Iwo Jima. His mom really wanted a picture of him, so she did research that took her about 6 weeks until she found someone in his family. She found and made contact with James Houston's sister Anne and asked if she could send any pictures of her brother. Anne said sure, and that she'd be happy to send photos. She didn't want to scare an 80-year-old woman into hanging up on her, so she told her she was just doing research on the Natoma Bay. James's mom checked the mailbox every day until she eventually got the package and was speechless about what she found inside. In fact, she was so shocked that she told her husband he needed to come home from work. Inside was a picture of James M. Houston standing in front of a Corsair. They found that before James was assigned to Natoma Bay, he was in a Navy squad that flew Corsairs. By this point, they told James' sister Anne the truth about why they wanted the pictures. They actually ended up meeting her, and right away, James was comfortable even calling her Annie, which is what her brother used to call her. She said all the information was very shocking and surprising, but that she does believe James is the reincarnation of her brother. His family then went to where James Houston's plane crashed to have a memorial. They even brought a bouquet of flowers from Tokyo to lay on the water. Initially, James seemed fine until his mom said it's time to say goodbye, which is when James visibly got upset. He threw the flowers in the water and then cried for over 20 minutes. Even now, at the age of 24, James maintains his belief that he is the reincarnation of James Houston. He says that the memories have lessened, but if he really tries to, he can remember the plane crash. He hopes that one day, scientists can find evidence proving reincarnation.
Yeah. So I personally don't, I don't have an explanation for this at all. I don't have any scientific facts. I do, however, believe in it. I think there's just, because like I said, when you Google it, there's millions of cases all across the world. I saw kids, there was one child like in Syria, I think it was, and he had like a birthmark, a big one. And he talked
India.
about being killed. Yeah, you saw that
Yeah.
one where he
Yeah.
was killed by a guy with an axe or
Yeah.
whatever, and then they ended up finding the murderer. Like, how is a child supposed to know any of this? So, again, I don't have an explanation for this. I do believe in reincarnation, and I do believe this story, and that's my take. Ben, what's your take on this?
I don't have an explanation for it. I don't doubt the credibility of it, but I have no. I mean, I'm not supposed to sit here and say that I believe in reincarnation and all that because I'm a Christian. But at the end of the day, dude, there's tons of stories like this, and I can't explain them. I have no rational explanation for it. So, I mean, there's something to it. There's no doubt about it. There's enough instances, anecdotal and otherwise, of shit like this happening that there's got to be something to it. And for any of us to claim we understand everything about the universe, I mean, you can't.
Aliens.
Yeah, oh, there we go. That's what it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's always aliens.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that these things actually happen. How they happen, I don't know. Does it mean he's reincarnated or that he's somehow got past knowledge? Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
Right. Good deal. All right, sweet. Appreciate you. Buddy, what's your take on this?
All right, first of all, as a Christian, you kind of have to believe in reincarnation. It's in the Bible.
That's actually a very good point, sir.
Yeah, just saying.
Yeah.
But I've actually seen this story quite a bit. There was a whole 2020, I think it was 2020 or 60 Minutes or whatever show on this kid, and there's way more information than that 3-minute video on this particular story.
He was naming like other pilots,
and
right?
it's all stuff that like there's absolutely no, like he knew people on the plane he met. Or on the plane, he knew people on the boat.
Yeah.
Well,
2-year-old's not fabricating all that. He's definitely not researching.
Like talking to them, like it was like he was like a 5-year-old that was one of the boys. You know what I mean? Like all these like old, like World War II pilots or whatever. Oh, and like the aircraft carrier wasn't really an aircraft carrier. It was like a boat that had been transformed into an aircraft carrier. So it was like this completely random thing that he would know and all this other stuff. Anyway, so yeah, and then there's also people they've said, like you were talking about, like the kid that had like, people say like your birthmark is actually the scar from
of how you died,
in a past life, whatever.
I got shot in the ass then.
Dude, I got one right.
Maybe it was a Roman. Maybe it was a Roman spear to the
butt. In the back of the thigh.
Little gladiator over there. Yeah.
But here's my thing. I to answer your question, Dave, I do believe in reincarnation at some level, because I think I mean, energy can't be destroyed; it can only be transferred. So it makes sense, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of theories on that one that we're like that we're not just on this planet, that the energy transfers to like all kinds of other planets, and that's where you, and then dimensions.
Anyway,
you're not getting him into an alien talk, Dave.
Hold on.
Here's about aliens.
Hold on. Here's the thing that I wonder. The thing that really trips me out, right? Like, what if this kid had gotten reincarnated? Like, I don't know why I just said it that way, but reincarnated, and like he was like all of like a lot of the older World War II like Pacific region vets, and was just got reincarnated racist as fuck, and was like, fuck these Japs, I'll never fucking get a nip car, like rah, rah. You're American TVs in here, I don't want any of these.
What's this Sony bullshit?
You bring up something funny.
You know what I mean? But he was like born in like the 1990s, but he talked like a crotchety, like.
Well, it's funny what you say, buddy. Like you said you've seen a bunch of documentaries, but
and he was just
there was one that I was going to talk about. I ended up going with this kid. It's this kid that is growing up in England, but he has an American accent, and he talks about being born in America. That's his past life, but he has an American accent, not a British accent.
I wonder if he walks around. Just
and the dad's like, we don't have any American friends here. Like, it's all British. He goes to an English school out here, like, I don't know where he gets it from. But then again, there's a whole trail of other kids who do the same thing with different accents.
He said
whatever country they grew up in.
His teacher says something to you. He's like, you know what, 100, 200 years ago, we'd have been throwing your tea in the bay. And she's like, Oliver, you're from Brighton.
You're a Tottenham fan, okay?
Experiment's gone wrong. CIA experiment's gone wrong. I don't know about that.
I'm not from Nottingham.
Ben knows all about that stuff. Yeah.
I'm from New Hampshire.
I don't know shit. Hey,
so
man,
anyway, buddy, you definitely believe in it. Yeah.
I got to see the AKM Bin Laden died with. How cool is that? Speaking of CIA shit.
Oh, that was pretty badass.
Damn.
Yeah, that blew my mind. All right, anyway.
Ooh, what if that dude gets reincarnated?
Who's he going to get reincarnated as? What if he gets reincarnated as
How funny would it be if he got reincarnated?
Oh, he'd be Jewish.
Like, that's exactly.
Dude, how hilarious it would be if all like Taliban fighters got reincarnated as Afghani women.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Bada boom, got a big. Take that, nerd.
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyway, Nick, what's your take?
100% true. Anybody like it's just. I was listening to a wise man talk the other day, and he goes, "You know why people say like a smart person uses like 10 to 12% of their brain? Because that's about all we've actually researched and figured out."
Yeah.
Yep.
So anybody who tells you, it's like, well, no, that's all we've researched. So it doesn't mean somebody can't use 80% of their brain.
Yeah.
Right. And again, the brain can do crazy things. So it's like maybe these people are wanting to see that, hear that, and the brain's doing that. Right. And maybe it's like bringing closure. I don't know. But, bring Bin Laden back as a goat. That'd be good. I think, if you want to put it into a spiritual sense, I think that I believe that, there are angels and demons.
Yep.
All right. And I can definitely see an angel with a purpose as a reincarnated person.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm going to bring closure to this person. Right. They've been praying for it. They want closure. All of a sudden, bam, what's the name? James Hutton or whatever. Bam, here's James Hutton. Here he is. He's telling you what happened. Right. And, who knows what that did. So I think about it that way. I think it exists that way.
Sweet. Michael says, so here's a genuine and honest question. What happens with reincarnation if nukes were spewing worldwide?
We all get reincarnated as cockroaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or rats. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody says what you get reincarnated as.
Yeah.
You know what
life
I mean?
is life.
Yeah, you could be a tree. Like,
you could be a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I was my dog, I would be happy. That dog is spoiled as shit. But
anyway, well, that's good. That was a good take. I think it all had us. I think this is the first time we all agreed, huh?
Sometimes we actually had to think about something. I mean, we weren't talking about Peruvians fighting fucking aliens and trees, so we actually
we weren't talking about the Kandahar giant and trolls and all kinds of other stuff. I know, buddy. We don't want to get you censored because you gave us the truth about the Kandahar giant, but we'll move on with that.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Don't
It
tell.
wasn't fifth. It wasn't fifth group whatsoever.
Yeah.
Nope.
Buddy, what you got for us today? You got an honesty cap? You got something?
You know what? My honesty cap basically is just the conversation that we had the other day. You know, we had a guy that was on BTT Official that asked a question. You know, I guess he had asked somebody, what was it? He just had a conversation with a guy at the bar, and the guy had like thanked him for his service, and then hit him with the I would have joined, but thing. And he said that it just turns him off to the conversation, and he just like went on his way, didn't talk to him anymore or whatever. And there were some people that were like agreeing. There were some people that were disagreeing or whatever. Like he was.
There were hundreds of people that were agreeing. There were actually a couple that were saying like, "Don't get freaking triggered."
Yeah, don't get triggered by it. But the thing is, the guy didn't say that he got triggered. He wasn't like.
It angered him though. He said that it angered him. He didn't say anything to the guy, but it angered him. Like it again. But anyway, I'll let you finish. I would say
when I read it, it seemed like he was more annoyed. And but here's my thing, and here's my little honesty cap thing. First of all, it is semi-annoying, and the reason it's annoying is because there's no other job on the planet that people do that. Like nobody ever walks up. Like if Nick was an accountant, right, and I was at a bar. I walked up and I was like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And Nick's like, "Good, just watching the game, having a beer." It's like, "Oh man, me too." Like, so what do you do for a living, Nick? And he's like, "Oh,
I'm an accountant.
I'm a fucking certified public accountant." And he'd be like, "Oh fuck, dude, thanks for your service, bro. Thanks for your fucking tax work. I really appreciate. Hey, what you did back in fucking 2019, that shit was fucking. It was good stuff." I would have been an accountant, but I just, the
didn't have the grades.
The math professor was a dick, and like he fucking 41 to me. You know what I mean? He was like, "What's 22 plus 22?" I said 41. He was like, "That's not enough," and then he fucking made me move to the back of the line.
I don't think those two jobs.
You know what I mean? Like no other.
I don't think those two jobs are comparable at all.
That's the point.
It's funny what you just said. I'm laughing at what you said, but I don't think it's comparable.
That's the point.
But that's the point. But it's also like no one does that for other jobs. Like, but for why? Because it's not like we care. Like if you come, that's why nobody. It's like, well, I would have done all of that, but I had this other shit that I prioritize. Like, you don't have to tell me that. I don't care that you didn't join the Army. I don't care that you weren't a Marine.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to make me think any. If you just said nothing, we would be neutral, and we could go from there and probably be positive. But when you say that, now it's like you're saying we're the same, except we could have been the same. Like I could have been like for me.
I don't know.
It's like
it
they're
literally
saying,
doesn't trigger me one bit.
Literally, like they're saying, well, I could have been SF too. But I had this thing with my ankle, and so I couldn't go through the quarter of a century worth of bullshit that you did. But had I not had this little thing, I probably could have been CAG. You know what I mean? Like, or not. You know what I mean? Or probably not. Like, but I do have a solution. You fucking reverse Uno. You hit them first. As soon as they sit down, if it looks like it might even go that way, you ask them what they do. And if they're like, fucking, I work at Burger King, like, oh, fuck, dude. Thanks for the service you gave me the other day. That shit was that double Whopper.
Just the right amount of ketchup. Perfect.
So much, the mayonnaise smooth across the entire top bun. I really like what you did there. Wasn't globbed. I would have worked at Burger King too, but I decided to get a career instead. That's what I did.
I don't know. Maybe I was just getting triggered more about like some of the bro vet stuff, like just making it about themselves again. Like, I served, I'm so much better than you. No, you made the choice to serve, and that's great, but that doesn't make you better than any other fucking human on this earth. You know, like it doesn't. No, absolutely. Not in my opinion, it doesn't.
You don't really get anything from it. Like I said, to me, it's the fact that you feel like you have to somehow make us like. You feel like I'm better than you, and I'm airborne, so I am.
And that's probably why a lot of people say it too. Like they feel, maybe some feel guilty that they didn't do it. Now they're too old.
Being in the airborne is like being in a Globo gym.
And they wish they would have served. You know, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people can't serve. I don't know. In its entirety, like, it doesn't fucking faze me one bit. Like, who cares?
Yeah. They're like the guy that showed.
Now you're trolling again, Nick.
Was it the Persians that they showed the
You're
Persians?
Not serious. I can tell.
Up behind the Spartans. That's what they are. They're just like they got their little shield, and they're like, I would have served too.
No, buddy, you're not saying that it like completely triggers you.
They won't let me hold a shield. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just
Anyway, moving on. That's my honesty, Cap. Hit him first. Hit him first with it.
I like that.
And talk about Burger King. Yeah, I like that.
Don't worry about it. Like, dude, what do you do for a living? I'm a fucking corporate finance manager. Fuck! I would have done that too, but I'm not.
I say we go a week with doing that in public.
Just see how it works.
Just see how it works. Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I love that. We could. Let's make a series on that.
Put that shit on Facebook Reels.
We could.
Just walk up to random people. It's so.
Now Armed Forces
not random. Dude,
Armed Forces Brewing Company is probably going to do it now because they said it on live.
Yeah.
Alan, I'm watching you, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that's it. That's what I got.
That was all right, buddy. I kind of knew that's what you were going to talk about.
Well, it was either that or I was going to draw out the merge lane and break it into its three sections that we all know, which is the go ahead and get in section, which is the first 1/3. The second third would be the, hey man, I'm going to let you in, but if you motherfucking let somebody else in, I'm going to be pissed because I'm only letting one person in the zipper, not two. And then the last third is, we will burn in a fiery crash on the side of this fucking road before I fucking let you in because you're an asshole.
See, that's what I wanted, and I got it out of them. There you go.
What about the guys that act like hall monitor and they shift lanes so that they're over the center line to keep you from making it into the second and third thirds?
Oh.
Can we just
so I have to tell you, that
I think those people are heroes.
No, I think they should die. I think they should die.
I have been that guy.
We are a nation of laws.
Buddy, why?
I've 100% done it. But you know what else I have done? I have gone onto the shoulder around that guy.
Hell yeah.
To piss him off.
Yep.
Michael Faceman, thanks for tuning in, but I'm not going to read all that. There's a lot of stuff going on there. We appreciate you watching, though, brother. We appreciate you watching.
Oh, man. What is that? Holy cow. Let's see here. Oh, I think he's wow. Oh, I think maybe he wants us to talk about this.
What?
The Australian.
I don't know enough about this.
Nobody cares about Australia.
Are the police trafficking meth in Australia?
Sure.
That's what I get from this. I don't know. Wow. Hey, Jess, if you're watching, we need to go to Australia.
Put some more exactly. On the Bobby.
Let's go.
I can actually.
You can attest to it. Damn, Jeff, I will read that later. I promise you after the show, I will read that. But we have a guest to get to, and we have an awesome video that we're about to play.
The answer to that question is a resounding no.
You're a global leader in risk management. What do you mean global leader? All right. I mean, I want to see a resume. What does it mean to be a global leader? I'm not saying you're not. Precisely. They're putrid. But the Australians?
Oh, fuck me.
Were you actually?
You actually do.
Were you the one actually, moving the meth across Australia, or like was it like were you undercover?
Are we talking like anhydrous meth, or is this the new?
Son of a bitch!
right?
I'm reading
There's
it from the
actually a
wrong
conspiracy
side.
that says
All right,
Al
we need
Smith
to
is
bring
not
on the
even real.
guests so I can read this shit.
$25 million crystal meth deal that was thwart. So,
All right.
interesting. Well, hey, Michael, my email address is
Yeah,
Big Earl
don't
at
get us swacked by the
veterantrashtalk.com.
Australian mafia right now. Yeah.
Why don't you send me some deets and we'll figure it out. But
yeah,
I like that. Speaking of meth, so no, it's a good segue into our guest Ben.
Hey, before you play the video, I want to give a shout out to Nick Palmisano and Diesel Jack Media. If you're playing the 7-minute when they put that together for us, and those guys are amazing. You may know Nick from Range 15. He's the founder of Ranger Up. Great dude.
Yeah, I try to troll him once in a while on Facebook. He never
It's
bites.
fun. Yeah, he's a good guy to troll.
Yeah, he's too smart for it, but I'll find a way.
He is scarily intelligent.
Yeah.
You wouldn't guess it just by looking.
I love when he posts that. How many days in a row was it with Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis video? Just so you know, this is the 640th straight day I posted this. To have that kind of resolve is awesome. So
I hope he's watching.
Yeah. No, awesome. So no, I don't want your email, Mike. Email me. All right. I'm the star here. I'm the celebrity. All right. So I mean, you're a global leader and all, but I'm the Big Earl. All right. So let's keep it there. But yeah, big shout outs. No, I'm super excited to and I'll get into this after the video a little bit. Super excited to have Ben on, and was hoping that his better half would come on, but apparently there's disasters over there. But
oh my God, bro. Yeah, it's been chaos.
So, but yeah, play the video, Chris.
For decades, Memphis has been losing the fight against blight. Ideas come and go, but nothing really takes hold.
Drug addiction is a lingering problem across Memphis.
And from January to March, there have been 380 opioid-related emergency department visits and 538 suspected drug overdoses.
Deaths from opioid and other drug addictions have gone up since 2020, and local organizations, along with the Shelby County Drug Court, are working to get people more treatment.
Police Department's heroin overdose response team has investigated over 120 non-fatal opioid-related overdoses and about 23 possible deaths, many of them due to fentanyl.
I took the picture 10 years ago, and I called it the door to hell, because it was very much hell out here.
Ben Owen.
No hope.
No struggle.
It was a dark, dark place.
All too well.
I used to buy dope out of this house almost 10 years ago. Kicked out of that halfway house, kicked off from drug court, eventually bottomed out, homeless in South Memphis.
But where Ben hit rock bottom is exactly where he's rising to the top. He's a veteran.
I figure if I can run 70 safe houses in Afghanistan, we could probably run some sober living houses here in America. And so I'm coming right back to the streets that broke me, and we're going to try to help other broken people.
Everybody in South Memphis saw Jess and I when we were out there, very bad addicted, and so for them to see us like we are now, that carries a message, and it's not a weak one.
Operation Buy Back the Block, where founders Ben and Jessica Owen buy abandoned homes, fix them up, and let veterans in recovery live for free.
There are so many similarities between what I did in Special Forces and what I see in Jess, We Fight Monsters, Flanders Field, doing here in the Buy Back the Block program. I mean, for starters, one of the programs that I worked real closely with in the latter part of my career was a program called Village Stability Operations. Imagine 10 years into the Afghan war, you decide to flip the whole script about walking down the enemy and dressing like RoboCop and putting scalps on the barn, and you go to kind of a modern day Magnificent Seven. And that means you're not only fighting alongside these cats, you are farming alongside these cats. You are helping them sort through dispute resolution issues, trafficking. I mean, you name all of the kind of sources of instability that take a community apart from the inside out. These Green Berets are living in that community, helping these locals kind of figure that out. And that is exactly what Ben and Jess are doing here in Memphis.
I want to close as many trap houses as I can, rehabilitate the properties into safe and sober living for single mom vets, other vets that have been through what I've been through, trafficking survivors, any number of people you can imagine who have really been through some shit and have a desire to carry that mission forward.
I am the people that this organization is going to help. I was once hopeless in a similar situation to this right here, and what was once the door to hell is now becoming a door of hope, and it was given to me, and I have to give it back.
And I prayed to God, if you just give me a chance to get back on my feet, I'll help other me. And I've been doing it ever since. You want help? I'm the guy to help. Why? Because somebody did it for me.
It's a lot of people out here like me, you know? And, you know, I come from really, man, a ugly background, really, you know? And, you know, I had went through a lot, you know, coming up. And, you know what I'm saying? It was like a great big help to me. And I just want to return something to everybody else, you know? I lost everything, man, you know, even my daughter, you know. It was like, you know, the bottom of the pit to me, because I was out here drugging and drinking and everything except the right thing, you know what I mean? Sometimes the things that I wanted to do, I couldn't do it because, you know, I'm so caught up in that well.
That's the whole mission here, is to help those in need of help. And not everybody that's in need of help knows they're in need of help until they get that help.
Like, if we can bring it out in the open and tell people it's okay that you're an addict, it's okay you're an alcoholic, come get help, we're here. Somebody is here to help you. As long as I can get that message out, I feel that we can do a lot better for the community.
You got to be able to stick into your word and learning your schedule about the things that you need to do and learning a different way and just being acceptable to other people's guidance.
If you build their self-esteem and give them purpose, believe in them, you have no idea how you can turn somebody's life around. I'll tell people, my clients all the time, you guys are smart and more talented than you think you are. If they could just have somebody believe in them, man, and give them purpose, they'll go up, they'll move up. They won't go back down because they got purpose now.
Somebody gave me a hand up and taught me a new way to live. We can't do this by ourselves. Yeah, we got willing bodies, willing souls, but unfortunately, it costs.
When you do this, you go one home at a time, one person at a time, one connection at a time.
Your opinion does not change this world. Your actions do. Because you might be the person to make the biggest change. And the ripple effect that it's going to have from that is going to go so far and wide. And you may not even know it either.
I think everybody kind of assumes we're huge and have all this funding. We don't. That's our biggest challenge now is funding. We're running out of money quickly, so the biggest challenge we've got is getting our fundraising footprint to align with our brand awareness footprint, and there's definitely a delta there. And so trying to close that up has been a challenge.
It's validating, and it's just humbling at the same time. It's incredible to see people come out to help.
And not only is it helping me and allowing me to continue my walk and grow in my recovery, but it's a chance to be able to see what kind of difference we can make.
You know, I think what happened with Afghanistan, with the way that collapse happened, and the way you saw these groups like Flanders and Pineapple, Moral Compass and Sacred Promise, where the hell did they come from? They came from veterans who looked around and said, nobody's coming, we'll do what needs to happen when the institution fails. I think that was the first shot across the bow of something much bigger. And I think if you come to Memphis and you see what Ben and Jess are doing here, it's unequivocal proof that that's happening.
You get help by the right people, it's a life-changing event. It really is.
That's deep. That's
Indeed.
the first time watching it, Ben, for me. I know Nick already saw it, but that's deep, man.
Yep.
That's just a round of applause, man. Shout out to everything that you're doing, obviously. Just phenomenal. I know we're gonna get into it, but I follow you on Facebook, obviously, as well. And you know, your drive and stamina, all the things you're constantly doing, man. You got your fingers and everything. So, you know, just hats off to you, brother. Obviously making a difference and making a change. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, we got Richard on the chat says, was that Collierville, Tennessee here?
Yeah,
Hit me up, Ben. Owner of Patriot Wildlife Control, Team Roofing are my boys. Would love to help
Yeah, A-Team Roofing. So Brad Bell was in that video. They actually, at Richard, they're amazing. They put a roof on the house we were actually doing that interview in. They're combat vet owned and operated, and just huge supporters of our mission. I was actually at one of their, well, I guess it was the VFW in Collierville, I think yesterday morning. I don't know. The last few days have been a whirlwind. But yeah, huge veteran community here in Memphis, and they've been tremendously helpful.
Yeah, let's get to it, Ben. Introducing you. Again, that doesn't need that much introduction. You've been on the show before. You came on the live here and got Task Force Lahaina started for us. And when I thought that we were going to do something, I quickly realized that, well, we already did what we needed to do. We just got everybody together. And you guys went nuts with that, which is awesome. But yeah, I love your sign that it shows up everywhere. It went viral. It's like no one's coming to help. Like we are the greatest country in the world. If you think someone's going to come help us, like ain't nobody coming to help us. And we said this is why we started Veteran Trash Talk, right? Like if we save one life a show, if we get one person to help this year, only just one, right? Like everything was worth it. And we know we're getting more than one, but we're not going to rely on the VA. We're not going to, we trash the VA once in a while. We're not going to rely on the government to help each other.
I don't think we should.
Right. That's not what they were started for. But
exactly.
you have taken this to the level that, I hope a lot of people who want to put skin in the game are going to pay attention today and listen to your model, listen to what you've done, the risks you've taken, and just maybe even the stresses it puts on you. But, what's the reward on that? But, Ben, welcome to the Trash Talk Hour again. Welcome to the dumpster fire, which wasn't too bad a one, except for Buddy's, whatever Buddy's doing right now. It's doing yoga or something. But, yeah.
I know. We're in Buddy's bedroom right now. Chris,
I gotta iron this boy's homecoming shirt.
Ben, take it away. Welcome to the show.
We're not worried about what I'm doing.
Man, it's great to be back, guys. I appreciate y'all having us yet again. And, you touched on the ops tempo, the passion, I guess the insanity with which we run at things. It's not even a mindset. Like it's an obsession that I can't really control. And it's kind of moderation is for cowards. If you're going to do something, fucking overdo it. And that serves me well when I'm clean. All right. When I'm in active addiction, you can imagine how that goes. So just as a little bit of background, if you didn't pick up from the video, I used to be homeless and addicted on those streets. Several of the houses you saw us renovating, I have lived in, damn near died in, been removed from at gunpoint, been shot at in. My wife and I have been kidnapped on some of those streets, held hostage. We were homeless, lived in a truck with a 2-year-old. I mean, just absolute hell. Those streets are rock bottom for me. And one of the news clips they used mentioned the Shelby County Drug Court. I've got to do just an announcement on this. The 21st of October, we've got a Shelby County Drug Court Foundation Race for Recovery here in Memphis. Our two nonprofits, Flanders Fields and We Fight Monsters, are sponsoring it this year. And then we're going to do an event the next day on that block that you saw in the video. So let's talk about the block. Like, what are we actually doing out there? So, the first time you guys had me on the show, I feel like it was about the Afghan Evac Pineapple Express. We had Scott on. Yep. Well, that whole process, it shifted a lot of things in our lives. And I have ADHD so bad, so I'm about to start bouncing around and you're going to want to kill me, but it's what's about to happen. I'm sorry.
No, it's a dumpster fire. You're doing whatever you want.
Exactly. It's a dumpster fire,
brother.
Right? So let's rewind the clock a decade, or hell, even more. I've struggled with alcoholism and addiction since I was a teenager. Why is it saying, oops, something went wrong, reload the page? Am I frozen?
No, you're not.
I'm good? Okay.
Hey, you're good.
Okay, cool.
So
I've struggled with alcoholism and addiction since my teen years. First time I got locked up was 14. We lived in California, and that's something that carried through and just got worse over the years. I finally got sober and then relapsed on alcohol in 2011. I've been sober about 4 years. A buddy of mine came back from Iraq minus a leg. Long story short, we both ended up addicted to opiates. I get arrested with, I think at the time I had about an $800 a day habit of heroin and crack, and got put into Shelby County Drug Court because I was pulled over with I was on my way home from the firing range. So I had several Title II weapons with me, which I legally owned, but they charged me like I was Pablo Escobar because I did have a lot of dope on me. And so they let me into the drug court program.
You
because
said heroin and crack.
Yes.
You just went full send on that.
I didn't. From the first time I touched heroin to an $800 a day habit, I think was a week. Like I said a minute ago, moderation is for cowards. I overdo look, I even have 8 kids. I overdo anything I do. Okay. So, it went balls to the wall real quick. And Veterans Court here in Memphis could not take me because the feds were looking at me for the gun charges. Now, thank God, all of that is over with. It's gone. I'm not a felon. We were able to get everything pled down to what it actually should have been, which was me possessing my own drugs with my legally owned guns. That's neither here nor there. So I got put into drug court. All right. And they kind of gave me an opportunity to get diversion, to not have a criminal record, and to get sober. Well, I wanted nothing to do with that. They put me in a halfway house. I got myself kicked out of that halfway house inside of 8 days. Ended up getting kicked off drug court. I was put on diversion. I violated that and was put on probation. I violated that and did a little bit of time. I wanted to be clean. I just could not manage to stay that way, and nothing worked. And in hindsight, I know now that I just hadn't suffered enough to stop. I mean, you're not going to stop. If you've ever dealt with alcoholism or addiction, you're not going to stop until you've had enough. All right. And then that was the big problem I had, was I didn't know what enough was. And I'm lucky I lived long enough to finally have had enough, which happened in 2019 after I had lost 2 homes, 7 vehicles, my freedom. I don't even know how many times, a marriage, 5 kids. Now, we've got a lot of that back. I've got a great relationship with my ex-wife. We share the kids, and I've got more kids now. I met Jess, my wife now, in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. I don't recommend that. Don't ever try that. It worked out okay for us, but it was it ended
like Fight Club.
Yeah, you don't want that. She stabbed me one time. We can talk about that later. I deserved it. Yeah, I pissed her off. She waited 2 years to get back at me, and then stabbed me 2 years later. But
they always remember. They know.
Yeah,
they're always plotting.
Sorry, in the comments here.
Yeah, she's plotting. Yeah.
So I got kicked off drug court in 2015, and but I maintained contact with this dude named Brian. Brian actually, he was drug court staff when I was on drug court. He introduced me to Jess, and the guy didn't pick up his phone. So when I was trying to get clean and I would call this dude, he was always there when I would call. And so, we're fast forwarding to 2019 when I finally did have enough and decided to get clean. I was homeless. I got on a Greyhound bus, went home to my parents in Georgia, and Jess ended up following about a week later. And we called Brian and got back in touch with drug court. The Afghan evac happened. We did all that, but by this point in time, we had a nonprofit to help homeless and addicted vets, and we decided we wanted to stand up sober living houses. I mentioned in the video, we did all these safe houses in Afghanistan, and I'm skipping a ton just in the interest of time, but we bounced back pretty quick financially. And so after having the safe houses in Afghanistan, we decided we wanted to stand up sober living houses in Tennessee. And so I decided to approach the 2 people I wanted to approach least. That was the owner of the halfway house that had kicked me out after 8 days, and the drug court judge who wanted to send me to prison. And we went and presented a plan to them, essentially asking for them to, bless it, sign off on it, guide us through the process to stand up some sober living houses in Chattanooga. They're like, well, why don't you just do it here in Memphis and buy Rebos, which is the halfway house you got kicked out of. And so that's what ended up happening. That set into motion a series of insane events. Now, remember, at this point in time, we only have Flanders Fields, which is for homeless and addicted veterans. We now have halfway houses with 42 beds where I can house homeless and addicted vets at absolutely no cost to them. And we started going and doing like straight up street outreach on the same streets where Jess and I were, almost murdered, or almost overdosed, almost died 1,000 different deaths, and probably should have. I mean, it's insanely illogical to even try to figure out how we made it alive, but we did. So we went back to those same streets and started trying to find homeless and addicted vets, because They don't show up and say, hey, I want to get clean. Like, you have to do constant outreach trying to help folks. Well, in the process of that, I would say 97.9% of the people we encountered that wanted help were not veterans, but they wanted help. And none of us on this live or even watching this would step over the dead body of somebody asking for help just because they don't have a DD-214. So rewind again back to the Afghan evac. I got pulled into that by a Marine intel officer who was volunteering with a child trafficking organization. We worked very closely with them to make sure none of the kids we were evacuating out of Afghanistan were being trafficked. Well, we maintained that relationship and brought it back stateside. And so in a real convoluted way, that evac has fueled all of this. But we stood up a second nonprofit, which has a narrower focus on sex trafficking and the kids that are impacted by addiction. So we're doing a lot of random things. I know they seem very disjointed, but they're not. At the end of the day, what we're doing here in Memphis is we're attacking, as Scott mentioned in that video, the drivers of instability in this community. And here in Memphis, those drivers of instability, they're economic insecurity, lack of opportunity, lack of self-worth, and a lot of it goes back to dope. It is everywhere here. And I would argue, and I think MPD or the DA's office would probably back me up on this, 90% of the crime in this city, particularly violent crime, is fueled by addiction, or at least dope in one form or fashion. And so if we can make a measurable impact on what's happening in the dope game, we can actually fix the entire community. So to that end, what we started doing, and it was an insane idea 6 months ago, but today it's working really well. We decided to start trying to acquire active trap houses. I didn't realize that's not a term everybody knows. So a trap house is a dope house. It's a house where narcotics and women are bought and sold. And that is literally the only reason this house exists. And we went back to the 2 trap houses that we bought most of our dope from and found ways to shut them down, legal owners, and then we've started renovating them into safe and sober living for homeless and addicted vets, for who are in recovery, for trafficking survivors who are in recovery, for rock stars coming out of drug court, anybody else you can imagine that really is lacking that one piece in the equation of their recovery journey, that one piece being housing. So we've got the 3 big halfway houses, which have a total of, I think, 42 beds. And then we've got 4 former trap houses that we're in the process of renovating. You saw some of that in that video. We've got an empty lot we're going to turn into a playground. And then another thing we've got that, again, this goes back to Pineapple Express and Scott Mann, is we've got the ability to rally volunteers around a cause, not just regular volunteers, but people who really, really give a shit. And it's an interesting mix of folks, right? We've got a lot of people that show up from the soft community. We have a lot of trafficking survivors, addiction survivors, and you can think those 2 populations sound very disparate, but they're not. Trauma is trauma. And people who have overcome levels of trauma like that, there's something different about the way they approach problems. They go balls to the wall in ways that you don't see other people go. They take risks in safe ways that you don't see other people take. And it's really enabled us to do a lot of cool stuff. So I'll give you an anecdotal example of that just happened today. That's why I'm so tired right now. We got this chick that acquired 4 properties in South Memphis, like right up the street, 10 yards from where I used to buy my heroin. And she's turned them into reentry housing for moms coming out of prison who did not lose custody of their kids. So the way this works, and a lot of people don't understand this, if you don't lose custody of your kids and a family member or something gets them and you get incarcerated, the day you're released, those kids are yours again. And that doesn't sound great, all right? Not for really anybody. It sounds good that the kids go back to mom. That's what we all want to see, but there's no mechanism there to support that. So Chantel is standing up a mechanism to support that for these moms to re-enter society with their kids in a somewhat organized fashion. She's calling it a boot camp. Well, it's her, and she's got a few volunteers. Well, today we were able to get 30 more volunteers out there and probably accomplish 10 times the work she would have accomplished on her own, because all these people showed up. And here's what's really cool. You want to know who showed up? The dope boy, one of the dope boys that operated one of the trap houses we bought and closed. So he showed up to volunteer and help. This dude's out there with a shovel swinging a hammer, and that's insane. That's insane. So not only are we closing dope houses, we're trying to bring, I mentioned the lack of
You're
opportunity.
changing mindsets.
We're changing mindsets.
yeah.
And, you know, one of his partners, one of them is in federal prison, totally unrelated, had nothing to do with me. But his other partner, this dude actually helped us get 7 sex trafficked women off the street over a 5-day period of time into detox and into treatment. That's staggering. That is staggering. And never in a million years did I expect that we would see this level of community engagement. I didn't think we would have this level of community buy-in, but the more I think about it, like, I'm really not surprised. We can talk objectively about the war on drugs having been an abject failure. Nobody is going to argue with that. And this goes back to what we were saying a minute ago, Earl. We shouldn't count on the government. We need nimble solutions. Bureaucracy slows everything down. And anytime you've got government funding, you're going to have people milking it. I think that's one thing that's been really cool about We Fight Monsters in Flanders Fields is none of us take a check for doing this work. Now, it's made it difficult to keep volunteers. Like, one hire I wish I'd made last year when we had all the money for Afghanistan was to raise money. I didn't do that. I was committed to nobody taking a check. I wish, in hindsight, that I'd hired that person so that all the fundraising doesn't fall on Ben's social media posts, but whatever, it is what it is. The moral of the story, though, since nobody's financially incentivized to, get any of this stuff done, we're all here for the right reasons. That was an ADHD ridden. I don't even know.
No, that's good. That's good. It's got a lot. We got a lot of questions to throw at you, and reinforcements. Like you're talking about, like the bureaucracy. And I don't want to get too much into that because it takes away from it. But it's exactly right that you got Buddy brought a guest on, Jimmy, right? That he's running. Was it fishing or hunting in
both? It's
both, right?
Warriors for the outdoors.
Warriors for the outdoors.
Warriors
right?
for the outdoors.
And,
yep.
Right?
Shout out to Jimmy.
We've had 100 nonprofits on here, and what they can do with $1,000, right? What they can save a life for $1,000. Now you look at the bureaucracy of the VA and how much each veteran, is technically, how much you're talking in the millions. It's like, if I can save a life with $1,000, again, that's just reinforcing, when the government gets the money, people milk it. They put it. They got administrative jobs popping up here, and here. Beautiful big ass buildings, kind of like Baptist churches and stuff like that. Poor town, giant beautiful church in the middle, right? It's like, why are there homeless people outside, right? Like, so
exactly right. And
you're nailing it. And here's what I wanted to get into, because we talked about
Nick,
this.
you're itching at it, but yeah.
For Task Force Lahaina, right? Specifically, when some of those, like I said, I'm going to attest to what Ben said, is that they have a network that just so fast comes together with real, powerful people that give a shit. And it's like, when those people give a shit, it's like something's going to happen. Like, it's going to move, right? And they talked about in that thread about, because we do our conspiracy on the show, on how conspiracies hurt good doers, right? Conspiracies hurt the flow of money that could come in to help, because a conspiracy comes out and says, hey, this is all fake, right? Nobody's actually hurt. Nobody's in trouble. And then here you got people on the ground who are helping people. Like, why did we just dry up? It's like, because the conspiracy got out too fast. So and I wanted to say, with one of my biases, this will lead into the question. With one of my biases that I've always had, we had a friend of Veteran Trash Talk who was real loud about his recovery, right? But it seemed off to me, right? It seemed more virtual singling than it did actual, I'm trying to help you with my story. And so somebody who I always try to coach people on checking their biases, my bias with you, the first time I ever saw you on social media before, I was like, here we go again, another guy talking about how great he is at recovery. And it's like, what's he making from this? Right? What's he doing? What's his angle? Right? That's a thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it's like,
100%.
so how do you fight that conspiracy theory? And how do you fight the naysayers that are like, well, he's obviously just filling his own coffers. Like, who really gives a shit?
By
Well,
action, dude. By action. It's clear as day.
That's
you know.
that's one. And we have had a few people that come and say that. I'm like, dude, just come to Memphis, come hit the block with us, and it'll change the way you look at this. That's the easiest thing. But the other thing, I own a company called Black Rifle, and we sell data to the gun industry, and I make a very good living. When I said we bounced back quick financially, we did. And so, everything we do, everything that you see We Fight Monsters and Flanders Fields do, it's all grassroots funded. We're not getting any grant funding. We've had a couple on the Flanders side, people want to throw money, just small amounts of it. When, okay, we personally mortgaged those halfway houses. My business partner at Black Rifle, Robert, and I personally signed on that mortgage. If you guys saw Sparrow House, where we just had that trafficking survivor, the child sex trafficking survivor, and her kid that was almost murdered, I personally signed that lease. A lot of this is done out of pocket. So am I profiting from the nonprofit? No, definitely not. I mean, our financials are public. We're a 501c3. None of us take a check. That line item on there is zero. So, Faceman, you hit the nail on the head, though. It's action. I mean, I literally don't have time to do anything but this nonprofit shit. We're out here doing this 18 hours a day. It's insane. Now, does that mean it's selfless? Absolutely not. This, no joke, this is what keeps me sober. I mentioned I've been struggling with alcoholism and addiction for 30 years now, almost, right? I'm 41. The first time I got locked up for it, I was 14. I've been sober and relapsed and gone back to active addiction enough times to know that something's different this time. The only thing that's different this time is I have completely and totally poured my life into my 12th step. And if you're not familiar with 12th step recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, the 12th step is having had a spiritual awakening. We carry the message to those still suffering. And that's, for me, my 12th step is what you see me out here doing every day. I wish we had hired paid staff. I wish we were getting more grant funding, because Jess and I are spending quite a bit of money out of pocket. But if I don't do this and I relapse tomorrow, I've already lost 2 houses to addiction. I can lose a third. This falls apart if I relapse. So I don't mind coming out of pocket and doing all this stuff. It's an honor for me to be able to do it. I'm just grateful to be alive, to even a platform to do any of this.
Yeah. And then I know Chris asked a question because the chat thread kind of went out, but we got was it Kristen Vaughn on the chat thread here is talking about, and he has the banner going across there, the Race for Recovery. So how do people?
What is it?
What is it?
So the Drug Court Foundation here in Shelby County for the last 9 years has held an annual Race for Recovery. It's a 5K run. This year they're doing it October 21st. It's a zombie run. It's a $25 registration fee.
What does that mean?
The zombie run, you can come in costume. It's Halloween, basically. Yeah, so you can come in costumes or whatever, and all the proceeds from it go to the Shelby County Drug Court Foundation. The Drug Court Foundation is absolutely amazing. They fund the drug court here. Drug court is a type of treatment court which provides, you can look at it as alternative sentencing. I mentioned earlier, I was kicked out of the program because I was not ready for recovery. But if you have somebody on here that's picked up a drug-related charge and they're ready to do something different with their life, nobody benefits from them going to prison at all. We talked about the war on drugs being an abject failure. Well, that's why.
Corporate prisons do.
Exactly. And drug court provides an opportunity for somebody who is breaking the law because of an addiction to change their life. And the Drug Court Foundation funds that. And the Race for Recovery is just a fundraising event for the Drug Court Foundation. They also do a lot of cool stuff like putting teeth back in, young women's heads who have lost them to addiction, stuff like that. They're fantastic. So that is the Race for Recovery. Flanders Fields and We Fight Monsters both are proud to be sponsors of that this year. And let's not let the irony be lost on us that I was kicked out of drug court and kicked out of this halfway house, and this year we're sponsoring the race. These people understand second, third.
That speaks volumes, man.
Yeah, right. It does.
You lived that life, and now you're trying to fix other people's lives who are going through the same stuff. I mean, that's just
what, dude?
Who'd be the better person to talk about it?
You brought up Task Force Lahaina, Nick. One of the guys that went out there with us is on drug court. That's never happened in history. They have never approved a pass like that. Not to mention, I can't think of a drug court client that would have been capable of doing something like that. But what we're doing here, and all of these crazy efforts you see us taking part in, we're literally changing lives. We're giving people purpose again. And other addicts are finding the same thing that addicts have been finding since 1930 when, you know, Bill W. started Alcoholics Anonymous. When you start pouring yourself into somebody that's still suffering, it makes you whole again. And that's, I think, for a lot of us where addiction starts. There's a void somewhere inside us that we're trying to fill. And we try to fill it with substances. We try to fill it with sex. We try to fill it with things that feel good. At the end of the day, what fills that is service. You know, Kelly just said turning pain into passion. That's exactly what
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another reason I think there is so much alignment between a lot of the trafficking survivors, a lot of the addicts in recovery, and a lot of the guys in the soft community that have battled moral injury. There's a lot of similarities in what's going on in their brains, I think.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that a lot on the show. Nick meant like, you know, suicide attempts, and then they're turning that into like bettering the community. And like, I mean, mental health warrior, Cliff Bomber,
Yeah, Cliff.
you know, like perfect example, you know.
Well, we talked about
ahead,
it on
Mike.
the show, probably I think 4 or 5 shows about it or ago about it. You know, we've I think it may have been one of my honesty caps, but we for a long time, well, for the last 10 or 15 years anyway, veterans have been doing a lot of like putting their hand out and being like, you should give me, like, you owe me, you owe me, you owe me. And it's time. I think we're getting to a point, we're maturing enough, we're retiring, like our generation of global war veterans is retiring and has some time. And we're realizing that instead of just saying, hey, it's all about me, it's all about me, we're realizing that giving back to the community helps us just as much as like getting things, you know.
I think I would argue it helps more. And, you know, I mentioned when we first started this work, we were having trouble finding vets that were ready for recovery, because we as a society have conditioned vets with they have a built-in excuse to stay getting fucked up now. And that's not good. That's dangerous. That's a death sentence for an addict.
And a prescription for it, generally.
And a prescription for it. And, you know, that's a dangerous thing.
That's that guest we had on, you know, Dr. Gade in his book, Wounding Warriors. You know, how we're coaching people to be wounded. We're coaching people to be dependent, you know, as opposed to get after it. You know, go ahead, buddy.
Ben, yeah. How do you, so, I mean, you were an addict. You went through all of this stuff. So you would be probably the best person to vet people that are trying to go through recovery or whatever. How do you vet people? You know, how do you find out who you're going to give, like who's got a good shot at making it, who you're you know 50-50.
That's a tough
who's
one.
Not ready.
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's a hard thing.
It's a tough one, and the stakes are staggering. I've made bad decisions, and we've seen girls go back out and overdose, and that's hard. And you can't call it. You know, even as experienced as I am, having lived through it, you don't always call it right. You don't always know what's going to be right for each individual addict, and it's different. So, yeah, I think on the one hand, I am really good at vetting them, and I know who has a shot. Problem we've got right now is that it's fentanyl. And so when I left the streets 4 years ago, it was heroin. You can't even find heroin anymore. And the problem we have is when they fuck up, they die. You don't have time for them to live to see that sufficient bottom for them to choose something different. And sometimes it's, you know, we do have a rock star and they have something happen in their life and they decide to go back out and use one more time, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, you know, and we applaud you, we support you, all of that, and you know, you getting emotional there is, again, when you're putting your skin in the game and you're out there trying, right? You're out there doing something that 98% of Americans are just ignoring because it's uncomfortable to even like acknowledge, right? And we kind of went through this with the MST when we first started. Was it's so uncomfortable that nobody wants to talk about it, and then people get so inflamed and furious about one side of that topic that now you can't have a logical discussion about it, and you can't discuss how it's going to get better. And then here's where, to people listening, and when you listen to the podcast later, you're rewatching this. Nobody's perfect, right? And so the last thing you should do is trash somebody who makes a mistake while helping, right?
Yeah.
Because they've helped 400 people. That one got away. And you think about the We Were Soldiers when he called in the bomb on his own guys, and Hal Moore grabs him and says, "You forget about that one." Right? Do you think that guy's ever going to forget about that one?
No,
Right?
but you
No.
have to move on. You have to keep going. You can adjust fire and
Right.
say, I'm going to do that again, but you can't dwell on it.
Right. But my message to people out there listening, because there's ones out there and we know it, and they're sitting there and they're already virtue singling it like in their own head. All right. That's that bias. All right. Like, get it out of your head. Okay. It's uncomfortable for you to think about. And that's what I brought up to conspiracies, because we talk about this with the Gold Star Teen Adventures on the Fight Show, of how even I don't know if you guys are the same, but I never thought about, my good friends' kids when they died. Right. I didn't think about, obviously the Gold Star moms, but a lot of our battle buddies had children. Right. And when you talk about the drug problem, and like I was following the story with the little girl, in the hospital, and it's like there are a lot of people affected that are innocent. Right.
Yeah.
And who's going to stand up for them? So it's you virtual singlers out there. What have you done? And we want to talk about spirituality and giving, right? It's biblical that if you give, you'll get it back 10% more, 10 times more, not 10%, 10 times more. That doesn't mean you're going to get 10 times the money, right? You're going to get 10 times back to you in energy, in effort, in life, right? And obviously religion kind of screws all that up with those numbers, but like spirituality does not.
Right.
Like if you live for others, your life will get better.
Oh, unequivocally.
100%.
Unequivocally.
100%.
Period. Like
in every way.
Every single freaking way. Right. And talk about that a little, if you can, for a little bit. Just like the innocent people that are just, nobody wants to hear about it. So maybe they'll listen to it today. Like, yes, there is a drug problem. Yes, women do get trafficked in the United States, right? And of course, the conspiracies hurt you on that, right?
Yeah.
And then Hollywood hurts you on that, like,
right.
But what are the trafficking numbers just in Memphis?
The trafficking numbers in Memphis. So I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, I can tell you this. All right, trafficking in the United States. A recent movie came out. I think you probably already know what I'm about to say because you mentioned Hollywood and conspiracy theories. Trafficking doesn't look like what the media portrays it to look like. It does in very rare cases. I talked about working with the trafficking guys in Afghanistan to make sure those kids weren't getting trafficked. Well, that's not what we deal with here in America. Probably 95, maybe 99.5% of the trafficking we see, the sex trafficking we see in adults and kids both, is fueled by addiction. As an anecdotal example, back in, I think it was August, we assisted on the location and recovery of two 14-year-old females being sold for sex, actually right here in Memphis. And they were pissed off when they were rescued because they were both addicted to fentanyl and they wanted to continue getting high. Now, that doesn't mean they're not victims. They are children. You cannot, that's child sex trafficking. I don't give a shit if they're addicted or if they're, supporting a habit. They're victims. So I'm not trying to take anything away from that or make them look, unappealing. I'm just saying the reality of trafficking in America, it is fueled almost 100% by addiction.
That's brutal, man.
It's terrible. And it makes it immeasurably harder for women to hit rock bottom because the ones that cross that line and are willing to use their body as a commodity to fund that addiction, they always have that commodity. And it makes it really hard a lot of times to get these women off. I've got women out there. You think veterans have a dark sense of humor? You talk to an addicted prostitute. I've got one that literally makes jokes and she thinks they're hilarious about being raped. That's how she copes. And she's still out there. She's out there today. We saw her. and I've known this woman for 10 years, and I want nothing more than to get her out of there and have her choose a different life. We've had her in rehab multiple times, but she has this perpetual fear and this feeling that she doesn't deserve better. She just absconds every time. So I don't really know where I'm going with that, but
no, you're going right where I wanted you to.
You're going right.
Like
yeah.
I want you to give people listening. You know, like I said we have.
Is there somebody who's watching right now that's going through this shit?
Well, there's somebody watching right now that
addiction, alcohol. Yeah.
And there's people watching right now that think, you know, all of sex trafficking's like you said, like Hollywood. You know, like what's it? Man on Fire, right? Like everybody thinks, which is very similar because of the drugs, but it's like everybody thinks it's this whole organized thing when it's
in large part it is. You could almost say they've trafficked themselves in some ways. Now, if they're under 18, that's not a thing. They're being trafficked. But for the adults, you know, we've described the situation, I think, enough for everybody to understand what it is. And, you know, there are in the chat right now survivors of this exact scenario. I'm looking at one, and if she wants to say something, she will. But there are plenty of women out there
salute to her. Yeah, salute to her.
Who have been through this and chosen a different life, and they've committed their life to helping other women get out of it. And if there's a woman watching this right now that is still going through that, dude, you are worth it. I promise you, you are redeemable. Everybody out on this thing will help you with it. And we've seen countless women come out of this and turn into just absolute rock stars, saving lives left and right. And they pour their life, just like I, as an addict in recovery, and pour my life into this. There are tons of women that come out of that life and pour their life back into it to make sure that next little girl doesn't end up trafficked when she's 13 or 14 years old, which invariably leads, in many cases, to a lifelong issue. We've got one out there now whose mother sold her for the first time to support a crack habit. She was 13 years old. Today, she's 46 and HIV positive and still addicted herself. The worst part about that one is her mother is 14 years clean now. The one that sold her first is now clean. And this girl is out there HIV positive and still addicted herself. But this is happening in every major city in America. This is not just an issue that's unique to Memphis.
No, it's not.
No, it's not even.
Remember that big case in Fayetteville? You guys remember when we were in Fayetteville?
I was just about to bring that up.
You were just about to hit on that, buddy.
Spring
Go ahead,
little
buddy.
girl that got sold by her mom to like her mom's boyfriend
for drugs,
or whatever, and then they ended up murdering her. She was 5. But the other part,
rape and murder.
Ben was talking about, like, you know, under 18. You know, they can't have, they're being trafficked or whatever. It's like, but I mean, if you start trafficking somebody at such a young age, 5, 10, 12, by the time they're 20, if that's been their life, that's just their life. It's not you really can't blame it on them. That's what they have been environmentally
spot on, buddy. Absolutely.
Yeah, you nailed it,
mean?
dude. And they'll straight up tell you this is my life. They do not believe they're capable.
They don't know another way though either. They're just like,
that's right. That's all they know. That's all they know. If they're worth so little to their own life that they
what's super weird about it, and veterans should, especially combat veterans, ought to get it, because to normal people, they can't understand, like, how does it become normal to have mortars dropped around you and you not really get freaked out about it, for people to shoot at you and you become calm, it's because you've been conditioned that that's just normal for you. Not doing that is what seems abnormal and uncomfortable. Like, you know, if you jump out of that life and you go directly into like a stable home and, you know, a job that works 9 to 5 and having to put money in a bank account and all that stuff, that's just for people. And I mean, to be honest, you know, my sister was an addict before she OD'd, and she passed away from it, right?
My cousin overdosed on heroin. Shout out to Colin.
So everybody has some type of
it's impacted all of us.
Right. It's impacted people who you wouldn't think it's impacted, but at the end of the day, you know, those people are so affected by something that is so far beyond their control
Yeah.
That, I'll tell you, like the last 5 years that my sister was alive, I absolutely despised her. She wasn't the person that I knew.
Right.
She was completely a
And it
different,
sucks because you want to help
person.
and do everything that you can do, but
Yeah.
they're like
But
gonna stab you in your back. But it's
right.
it's again, like you just said, it's not them. It's the
and well, you have to realize it's not them. It's it's the substance. But you always still have that hope every time they say, "Well, oh, it's
getting
different
better."
this time. Like I got this job, like at this place, or I'm doing that." You always have a hope that it is that different time. But it's it's just nice to see that there are people that are actually putting the skin in the game, and you're not going to save all of them.
No,
you're not. You're not.
The government would love if we didn't stand up and do anything.
Yeah, well, you're not going to save. You're not going to save half of them, but you're not going to save any of them if you just don't do anything.
Hey, buddy, to go with what you're saying.
What Ben's doing though, what Ben's doing within the community and going back to these spots and creating community buy-in, if that spreads like wildfire across like all other communities, then it really is. You can save a lot of people.
It can make.
I mean, this is a starting point,
Yeah.
but it can make a huge fucking difference.
I want to get Ben connected with Bookham as well. To kind of
we need to for
Ben,
sure.
remember I was kind of chatting with you about that. A sheriff in New Jersey. He was a cop, and just being able to de-escalate a situation by I think he's a sheriff.
Yeah,
now, like
I remember.
De-escalate a situation just by showing up, right? Because he shows up in his community. People know who he is. They know, they know that hey, if you broke a law, you're going to go to jail. But he ain't there to beat you up. He ain't there to throw everybody in jail. Let's calm this all down. But to go with what Buddy was saying and then what Dave said, like where it affects you with drug overdose, like people will be quiet about it, but almost everybody has some kind of story where it affected them. But I wanted to get into you a little bit again because I know you're a real busy man, and so again, thank you for taking this time out. Because
I'm just grateful for y'all sharing the platform with me, brother.
And I know it's helping people, right? I know it's helping people watching. Let me put this the right way because I don't want it to be insulting to you, and if it is, I apologize. But like when you were talking about it, to where you were having an $800 a day habit. Okay, so for those of you watching, like. There's people that'll steal for that 800, but if you are turning a blind eye with ignorance is bliss, right? It can happen to your family in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
All right. It can happen to the most successful people now. Like you said, Ben, you were very successful money-wise, right? So you were able to kind of afford that $800 a day at first, right? Like, so I want people to hear that again of just how fast it happened.
Oh, it was near instantaneous. The first time I bought heroin, I snorted it, and this may sound crazy. I'm terrified of needles. I know I'm covered in tattoos, but I hate getting blood drawn. So never in a million years did I think I would actually use IV drugs. But the first time I bought heroin, I snorted it. I was like, I just fucking wasted that. So I got a syringe from a friend who was diabetic, and I shot up. And that was the second time I bought heroin. And I think I spent $200. 3 days later, I was putting $600 worth of heroin, and I'd now introduced cocaine into the equation. So $600 in heroin, $200 in cocaine every freaking day.
Upper and a downer, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was speedballing, and I'm lucky I didn't die, obviously, but it went that fast. So, Nick, 3 days, man, 3 days. 3 days from now. Always, my example is extreme. Not only because, as you mentioned, I was successful financially, but I overdo everything, and for whatever bizarre reason, I've always had a really high tolerance to a lot of different drugs. But it's nothing to see somebody go from I don't have a habit to I have a $300 or $400 a day habit. Now, do the math on that, though. A $400 a day habit is six figures. All right. Most people that end up addicted to drugs are not making that kind of money. And that rapidly turns into you now have to commit crimes to fund an addiction. And obviously addiction begins with a choice. I made the choice to do drugs. Okay. I may have been addicted to pain pills that were coming from the VA at one point in time, but I made the choice to switch to heroin. I made the choice to put it in my arm. At some point, that power of choice gets removed when the addiction completely takes over. And not everybody has the resources to support that addiction. In fact, most people don't. By the end, guess what? Neither did I. And you're going to do what you got to do to feed that addiction, and it takes over literally everything that you've got.
Yeah, powerful, man. But just thanks for sharing that. So again, those of you watching, and again, if you want to help, right, but you don't, it's not that you're scared, but maybe you're just, it's a comfort zone that you're not willing to cross yet, right? There are people that are helping. There are people that are out there doing it, and again, you pay taxes without a fight. Okay, like if you got some extra cash, right? This is an organization that we will stand by as Veteran Trash Talk if you're listening and watching. So if you got $10, right? If you got 5,000, right? Like whatever. And you don't volunteer your time, right? Your time is worth money, worth a lot of money to these organizations.
Yeah.
So Ben, talk about where people can donate. I know we got stuff going across the bottom
Yeah,
of the screen.
so we've got the banner at the bottom.
But for people listening on the podcast later, where can they get?
So wefightmonsters.org is our website. We're a 501c3, so every dime you donate is tax deductible. As of right now, nobody takes a check from We Fight Monsters. I would, as I mentioned, like to hire a development director at some point to manage fundraising for us. We do have a monthly option on the website where you can support monthly. Just $10 a month goes a long damn way because it goes directly into the mission. Something else you can do. There's the URL for the race recovery. This isn't going to work for people that are listening because I don't know the actual full link. But if you're a runner, and I don't care where you live, you can sign up on that link to run that 5K virtually, and it's $25. All of that money does not go to us. All of it, every dime
Didn't
goes
know
to
that.
Yeah, every dime.
Are we doing it, Nick?
Hell yeah!
We're gonna run it.
I don't
15-minute
run,
miles.
all right?
Let's go, Nick. You and I.
If you see me running, you better start
keep
running
up
too.
Let's go, Nick.
But look, the
I'll be down there.
Run the race remotely. It'll go directly to the Shelby County Drug Court Foundation. So if for whatever reason you don't want to give money to us, give it to them. They're also a 501c3. It's tinyurl.com/race-for the word for -recovery. And that's on October 21st. If you're anywhere near Memphis, I'll be there. I will not be running because, like Nicholas, if I'm running, there's a really good reason and you need to keep up. But plenty of other folks will. My wife, Jessica's dad, is going to run it. He, I think, was in his late 50s in 2015 when he ran it the year Jess and I met, and he finished first and then ran like another 5 miles after it. He may do it again this year. I don't know. But yeah, wefightmonsters.org, the two biggest needs we have right now. If you click the donate now button on the website, it'll take you to either an operation called We Fight Monsters, very creative, I know, or Operation Buy Back the Block. The video that we watched that Nick Palmisano put together for us, that's where we're renovating trap houses into free housing for vets, trafficking survivors, other folks. That's a huge need we've got. And then if you click the search box and type in the word Sparrow House is the house that I mentioned. I personally leased to house Jade and her daughter Leah. And we've got another woman that's going to be moving in with her two daughters on, I believe, October 9th. We've got room for two more, but we need funding. It costs us on average about $600 a month to keep one of them housed. So again, if you could use the monthly support thing and just throw $10, $20 a month at it, makes a huge difference.
Nice. There you have it. Do you guys have any other questions for Ben? Because either he has to go back to work or take a nap. One of the two.
I've got to go back to work, believe it or not. I'm heading right back. Brian
man.
just asked a really good question. Do we have any psychologists donating time? So Kristen Vaughn, if you could take that in the comments. We've got, so Sentinel Foundation is an organization of guys that go around the world and kick doors and save kids. They've also got some really awesome psychologists that have volunteered some time with us. We don't have any local here in Memphis, but I do think that would, we're big on mental health, obviously. The kids get impacted in some pretty sad ways. And what we're trying to do is prevent and stop generational traumas. So I think getting mental health care for those kids is great. If we have anybody out there that is a child psychologist that wants to volunteer some time, Brian, that's a great suggestion. Thank you. Anybody else got questions? Sorry, I didn't mean to run off of that.
No, that's fine because my chat thread's not working
This
on
show
my
is
screen,
about
Chris.
you, brother. This show is about you and what you're doing now. So.
Yeah. As much as we love to hear, I mean, me specifically loves to hear myself talk. Like the overwhelming point of this is to promote what people are doing great in society. And I got to reiterate it again. and we know this as veterans, and Dave's getting his first taste of the VA, right? Like it's just it ain't.
Man, that
And
shit's frustrating, dude.
Right. It's not. And again, you can hit a gold mine just like any other service industry. You could get, a great waiter, you can get a great doctor, you can get a great bartender, you can get a great, tailor for a suit, whatever. You can get lucky, or you can just, find the right person. But for the most part, the VA cannot physically handle the veterans. They just can't. Not as the overall whole. But we can.
One thing I want to touch on here, and we run into this a lot, is there are a ton of resources out there for homeless vets if you qualify for VA benefits.
Right.
We run into a ton of guys out there that don't, because they ended up with an addiction during service. They picked up a charge. They were kicked out. They're ineligible for anything.
Yep.
And that's the overwhelming, that's like the dirty little secret in the system. You have guys that served, some of them for a long time, that get nothing. And so that's a gap we're trying to stand in on the Flanders Field side. I don't give a shit if you were kicked out. The only guy I've ever turned down was the dishonorable for child pornography. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Not
helping. You can go ahead.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't have anything but respect for the VA. That being
I'm saying not against them.
I exist to eliminate bureaucracy wherever I can, and it's hard to think of a bigger bureaucracy than the VA because they're part of the federal government. So God bless them. They have a monumental task, and they're doing the best they can with it. We're here for the guys that fall through the crack, just like y'all are. And let's be honest. We're honored to stand in that gap to catch the guys that fall through the crack. It's not like we're bitching about that.
Yeah, and it's amazing the power of spirituality and the power of just being there for somebody.
12-step recovery is a spiritual program. You cannot do this without believing in a power greater than yourself. Whether you believe that you're going to get reincarnated as a World War II pilot, or that you're going to go to heaven when you die, it makes no difference. You just got to believe in something bigger than you. That's it.
Hey, General Patton was fighting all kinds of wars before World War II. He just,
That's right.
Whatever. The last thing I want to cover, buddy's waiting for this. Is what you're saying about you're always going 110%. We had a doctor on here in one of our first few shows talking about why veterans are a higher suicide rate than society, and it's because of that principle that we as veterans. Now, I hate saying we as veterans because I hate speaking for all veterans, but we take it to the extra mile. We will go past the finish line. Right, we were trained that when we thought the run was 2 miles, and the CO went freaking another block forward just to see who would quit. Right, there were a few that would quit, but the majority of us didn't. Right, we're gonna keep going, and we're gonna go hard. And when that comes to, it's great for work, right? It's great for love and compassion, but it's a double-edged sword when it comes to drinking. And I'm a fucking prime example of this. Right, people are like, "Man, Nick, how did you drink that much and get up and work the next day?" And it's just I'm going to go hard no matter what I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hard with work, and then hey, we want to crack some beers open. Let's go.
I always get hard in the paint too.
Ooh, I heard about that. I've never really seen it, even with your short shorts on. But it's
hard to paint. I always get hard.
No, but that's just who we are.
Again?
I think he put on a nice one.
He changed shirts again.
I do have to chauffeur this boy. So
so let me get to the AAR. All right, and I did not take notes.
I think Buddy was about to do the AAR. He had it all ready for us. That's
no. I was taking notes on the 5K. I'm training for. I'm actually training for. I just found out that fifth group, well, not fifth group, but Chapter 38 of the Special Forces Association does a 10K run and gun every year. Have been since 2017. One of the kilometers this year's was dedicated to my old medic, and so I went with his kids and his ex-wife, and we kind of watched that part of the race and the gun run and gun thing, and I was like, I've got a year, I can get into shape to do this.
Hell yeah.
It's so much harder to get into shape than it was to get out of it. It sucks. I've been fucking running and jogging. I'm jogging.
Yogging.
Sarge, if
Yeah,
if it's below a 9-minute mile, like I looked down at my little clock and it says like 8:30, I feel like Usain Bolt. I'm just like, yeah, boy, he still got it. Kid's doing an 8:30 for a half a mile.
Hey, buddy.
It's terrible.
My 12-year-old son's running 7-something.
Yeah, it hurts, and it hurts so bad. Every morning I wake up and all of the things, like everything, like my bones and my tendons hurt. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'll stick with the AR for running because I'm gonna have my 8th grade daughter, who is a district champion in cross country. Look at that stud. Look at that stud.
Look at that. Look at handsome.
Yeah,
look at him.
She's a district champion, all right, and I'm not going to take any credit for that other than my genetical code that made her tall with long legs that could run. So no, but she's going to run it for sure, and then
awesome.
I'll pay her, and then I'll double that and donate it as well. But yeah, she ran 2 miles in 14:09.
Whoa!
It was 97 degrees outside, 4,000 feet elevation. Right,
Whoa.
like
8th grade.
Dude. I was going to use this for my Book of Earl next week, so I can kind of get people ready for it. But she had lost to this girl from Santa Teresa Middle School 4 times. And I said, hey, I go, you know what that girl's probably never seen? And Caitlin goes, what? I go, someone else's back. I was like, put the pressure on her.
Say, dude, Natalie's a beast. Caitlin is a freaking beast now too, man.
I'm like, get in front of her and see how she responds. I was like, if she comes back and dusts you, good for her. Right? High five her after the race and say, I tried something different and you still smoked me. Cool.
Yeah.
But I was like, put that pressure on her. All right. See what happens. And she ended up winning, so that was great.
That's amazing.
Shout out to Caitlin, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, girl. She's playing a club basketball game now. But either way, that's we got the Race for Recovery. So go check that out. The link is going down there. If you are listening on the podcast, it's tinyurl.com / Race for Recovery. But I'm sure if you put that in, or just message us on the just message Big Earl at veterantrashtalk.com, and we'll get you the right way. Reincarnation is a real thing. All right, we've all agreed on it. So you can come back as a donkey. All right, so be careful. All right, so just it is what it is. So you can come back as a snail. Right, so just watch out. And then the last thing is Flanders Fields. Okay, we fight monsters. What was the build it? Was it Build It Back?
Buy back the block.
Buy back the block. I should have wrote it down. All right, buy back the block. These are all things that Veteran Trash Talk stands by. All right, if you give them money to make that happen, it's going to go to the right place. Whether you trust the Big Earl, Faceman, or Buddy or not, we have 135 shows. Our emotions, our truths are out there. All right, we have no skeletons other than the ones we really want to keep quiet. We have no skeletons that are not out, that have been out on this show. All right, so we've talked about some of the most personal things ever. And Ben shared a lot of stuff. We really appreciate you coming out and talking about that addiction. And what hits me the hardest, again, is just how fast it happens. And so for those of you listening, it can happen to you. It can happen to your son. It can happen to your daughter. It can happen to your mom. It can happen just like that. All right. So be your brother's keeper and stop it. All right. And do what you can. Be that shoulder, be that ear. And I'm speaking from my own faults too. Like, we all have to work on that. Be better at it. So Ben, before Dave closes us out, we'll give you the last word. Thank you so much again for coming on and sharing what you guys got going. But last word before Dave closes us out.
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate you guys so much, Veterans Trash Talk. Y'all are amazing. You've given me a platform a few times now. You helped us stand up Task Force Lahaina, respond to the fires out there, get some aid to some people in very, very big need. And I thank you for today doing the exact same thing, letting us get the word out about what we're doing right here in Memphis for some broken folks. So God bless y'all, man. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, brother. Appreciate y'all very much.
Awesome, Ben. And shout out to Jeff Creighton.
Dude, yeah. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Obviously, you can go check out the episode on veterantrashtalk.com. There's all of our platforms, Spotify, Apple iTunes, whatever all the other stuff is, YouTube, all that good stuff. And then Ben, dude, true inspiration, man. Just talking about the drug addiction and everything that you've been through and what you're doing now, and how so many of us, probably in the chat as well, can relate, losing my cousin to heroin as well. So shout out to Colin. Thanks again for what you're doing, dude. I'm going to continue supporting you. I think VTT and Gruntworks, we're all going to continue supporting you because what you're doing is just phenomenal. And if we can create an army,
that's right.
Then, move from where you're at right now and then move to the next city and just keep on moving along, then I think, we're fixing a huge fucking problem. So Ben, hats off to you. Great episode. Catch you guys next Saturday. Love you.
God bless y'all. Thank you.
Out.